Ministries.
All right, and tonight we are having the premiere of
Relentless.
right here at Calvary Chapel, Norman, 1401 West Boyd Street, Norman, Oklahoma. So, you guys need to make it out. You got an hour to get here. I want to see every one of you listeners out here. It is a free event, so there's no excuse.
Everyone in Norman, come on down.
Everybody in Norman. Hey, and everybody listening on the app and online. You know, you're more than welcome to come down.
We can meet on the roof.
So, I guess we're just going to sit here and we're going to talk a little bit, guys. All right, Jason. Man, this documentary we're going to see tonight is a little bit about you and your journey. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to expect in this.
Well, so this documentary is basically a short little film put together by Peter Friedlander from Awaken Studios. He wanted to kind of document some of my testimony and pieces of my story and things that I've been through. Lived a pretty crazy life, and all glory to God. You know, I'm where I am today because of him, and you know, he hasn't given up on me yet. And I think the title of the movie, Relentless, came from during one of the interview sessions whenever I basically was asked a question about what is God, and you know, I pretty much said he's a stalker. He's relentless. He won't stop chasing me. You know, like no matter how many times I try to run away or whatever, he has never given up.
Yeah.
He follows me.
And that also know that even though we do try to run, we do try to hide, that
Sometimes.
he still pursues us no matter what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
And that is awesome.
I've always imagined it kind of like the Jonah story. You know, Jonah
Right.
ran as far the opposite direction of where he needed to be, and I'm sure somehow in his mind he imagined that he could escape from the presence of God when he was not doing what God told him to do. And when he realized that God would even own the ocean and wasn't, he couldn't run from God, then his next thought was, well, I might as well just die then.
Right.
So he's like, throw me in the ocean, and at least I don't have to do what I don't want to do. I'll just kind of die and meet my maker. You know what I mean? And of course, God was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, you know, that whole story. And you're right, you know, just listening to, you know, you were in here Sunday night with Stevie B on the backstage show, telling a little bit about your story and stuff, and just hearing that, you know, it does equate, you know, pretty similarly, you know, parallel to the Jonah story. So yeah, you're right on there.
Amen.
Man, Peter, man, Awaken Studios, brother.
Yeah.
How'd you get involved in all this?
Well, so I know I've known Jason a couple years ago, and we started attending church, house church together, and just listening to some of the things I've known about Jason and some new things that he shared. I'm like, you know, I want to make a documentary out of him. So I've been doing documentary work ever since probably about 10 years ago, and long story short, came here to Oklahoma City, did some relief effort 6 years ago, and met a lot of cool families. Just went through what they went through when the 2013 tornado came in and just kind of devastated the town and more. So I met a lot of God stories. A lot of people just lost everything, but they still praise God. And you know, if that's not the identity of what we want to promote, then you know, and when people are going through it, they have a lot of cool things that they're mustering, that they're processing, and that got me started towards creating documentaries, to creating a lot of cool screenplays and short films and stuff. And I eventually taught media a couple years ago, and then this time around we've been doing it for 6 months of Awaken Studios production class. And through this, Jason, I hit Jason up, and we kind of had the same idea pretty much within a week time span. And so I sat him down with my students, and we just pointed a lot of cameras targeted towards him.
Which was really weird.
Yeah, because he's used to like speaking from conferences, churches, going out in juvie, that's his home ministry now, Sozo Alive Ministry, which he goes to the juvie, to the kids in trouble, ministers on them, bringing them supplies, Bibles, everything that the government allows him to bring to love on the kids. He does, and he's seen miracles to a lot of cool things taking place over the last couple of years. So through that, we filmed him, his story, on a cold, I think it was January or February night.
It was
and
cold. We were going to do it outside, and I think it was all icy.
It was all icing. Yeah. So we got in the studio, and we took about probably 3, maybe 2.5 hours of footage, and I was happy editing it down to about 40 minutes. And it told the story well, but no one really wants to sit through, because this is going to be primarily online. People are going to watch online, and no one's really going to sit through a 40-minute type of documentary. So
I'm not that interesting.
Well, if we incorporated some ice cream in it, maybe.
Hey, from the little bit that I saw, you are pretty interesting in this.
Yeah, yeah. So we got it down 20 edits later, literally 20 edit later, got it down to about 20 minutes, and it's quick paced. It gets the story up. He has a lot of God moments that we needed to tell. So that's the gist of the behind the scenes. And now, as far as Awaken Studios, I got really passionate about creating documentaries when I was actually on a multimedia team. I was heading up in the Middle East when I was in Bethlehem for a year. And you want to talk about having your faith caught on fire and then just going for it. We were in the midst of riots to just talk about the IDF and the Palestinian conflict and the West Bank and all that jazz. I was in the middle of it. And we interviewed in Jericho a Muslim man converted to Christianity and his story. When I got the translation back from Arabic, and this was right around 7.5 years ago, when I got the Arabic translation converted into English, I mean, I was like, my heart just like, boom, like, this is what I want to tell when I get back into America. This is exactly what I want to do. I didn't know how. I didn't even know where is Oklahoma. Is that in like Swaziland or something, in Africa? Where in the world? But this is something that God birthed all those many years ago to tell documentaries, get down to, the root of why people exist, what makes struggles why do they glorify God? Why do people come back to God time and time again when they're thrust upon God, and actually God is thrusting upon them, blessing, even though we don't see about it? People all go through tragedy, like I just witnessed 4 or 5 years ago of just meeting families. Where was God when my son died in Plaza Towers? Where was God when my entire house was lifted up and was like carried away? Where was God? God is in the midst because He is relentless, and He is faithful, and He is true.
Amen.
Well, amen, man. Pretty powerful stuff right there.
True.
He mentioned, what you do through Sozo Life with the Jesus in the Juvie. I had the pleasure of helping promote your benefit concert
Last year, yeah.
Yes, this last year, and we had an awesome time.
It was fun.
But tell the folks exactly what that all entails, what you do.
Yeah, so Sozo Life started in 2012, but it was the first time we went into the juvenile prison. Basically, God spoke to me a couple years back in 2012 and told me, go get them, where the enemy is trying to get the youth. I started, the first time I was drinking, I was about 8 years old, and by the time I was 12 to 14, I was a drug addict and even dealing, So what we do is we have a team of people, and we go into a juvenile facility here in Oklahoma City called the Berry House. I've been doing that since 2012, and we bring snacks and drinks, and we bring Jesus in the juvie. We bring Holy Spirit in, and we talk to them about the truth. We give them the truth, and we tell them, Jesus said the truth will set you free. And so we consistently every month go in and tell them the truth, because we want to stab a sword right into the heart, drop a seed, and hope that God waters it, hope that the Spirit will actually increase it, and that they will become free through the knowledge of the truth, and that they don't have to live another life. Besides going in monthly, at the end of the year for Christmas, we actually have a juvenile prison out in Tecumseh, and we actually sponsor an entire cell block, which is usually about 15 to 18 kids, and we purchase Christmas presents for all of them, usually about 10 to 15 items per person. We're bringing drinks, desserts, and a whole spread. I'm talking a Christmas spread, man. We spoil them and just come in and love on them, man, and tell them again, show them that they're not forgotten, that they're not abandoned, and that, somebody loves them. Not only us, but we let them know why we're there. We let them know who inspired us to go there. And so, you know, we every year we try to raise enough money to be able to buy all those presents, that food, and those drinks. And that's what we decided it would be fun to put on a free benefit concert for that, and that's what we did last year.
Man, awesome. And I know, you know, through all this, I know those kids' lives are being changed. You know, if nothing else,
Yes.
that seed, like you said, is being dropped. You know, so we may not see it in our lifetime, but you know,
We've seen it. We've seen
You've seen it,
yeah,
right?
we've seen kids meet them on the street. Sometimes I'll go into fast food restaurants to, you know, order something to eat, and they'll be like, man, they'll call me Sozo. They'll be like, Sozo, you know, and I'll be like, oh yeah. And they tell me, you know, their life is better and running in. I ran into kids at Taco Bell, McDonald's, ran into them at, you know, Firehouse Subs. Some kids will you know, run into them on the street when we're doing stuff, you know, so you know, some of them reach out to us afterwards, and we try to do our best to minister to them as well as their parents or their guardians, and talk to them and try to bring kind of you know, just a hope to the whole scenario. And for at least the ones we've been able to have contact with, we've seen some really amazing results in their life. Like I think we talked about this on the radio station last Sunday when I was here, but then this one kid, it was actually the first kid I ever talked to when he got out, with him and his mom. And it's been years now, and I just saw a Facebook post where he had been working at a dealership. He's married now, bought his first house, you know. So this is like a kid who got his life together, who had a possibility of not, and he did. And you know, he's a Christian. You know, he posts about God and talks about how God's blessed him and stuff. So just that alone just really inspires me to see that his life changed directions.
that is awesome. You know, and you mentioned a little bit just a minute ago, you know, you going through some of the same struggles as these kids. You think your experiences and what you grew up and dealt with and how your life transpired, I think that's the reason why God gave you this ministry to go.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. You know,
able to talk to these kids.
I think so. I think a lot of times, you know, Joseph said in the Bible, he said that which the enemy intended for evil, God made for good, or God turned it for the good. And I see that. I see that a lot. I see that the very thing that the enemy meant to destroy somebody in is the very place where they go back and rescue those still in it. You know, and I see that happen a lot. So yeah, I definitely think, you know, Moses, I mean, there's a story. Moses was in Egypt, right? And he was part of the oppression, right?
Right.
He was there, and then God used that very thing to go back to that same place and speak right to the people that he once was united with, right? And so, yeah, I definitely think that that's something the Lord does.
Amen.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I thought you were going to say something. So again, guys, you out there listening, you know, tonight, if you want to hear the full story, Jason's full story, come out to Calvary Chapel in Norman, 1401 West Boyd Street at 7 p.m. You got 45 minutes to get here. Man, it is going to be one awesome night. Can you kind of give us a rundown of kind of what tonight's going to be about so the folks know?
Yeah, we're going to have prayer, worship, some poetry by some writings, journaling from Jason, and then we're going to go straight into this 20-minute documentary. If you guys miss it, and you know, just because you have to milk the cows at home or something like that, weird explanation, you can catch it up on awakenstudios.net. It's going to be posted on there tomorrow in 24 hours.
awakenstudios.net, you can check it out. So yeah, I mean, I'm a writer. That's one of the gifts God's blessed me with, and so I tend to write whatever it is I'm going through. And so before I knew the Lord, I wrote a lot of dark stuff. And so when I actually ended up writing all that dark stuff, you know, the Lord basically, I realized that I can actually share those poems and share those things to explain, this is what I've been going through, this is what I felt, this is where I was at. So before the documentary, I'm going to kind of read a few of the poems that I wrote in some of my darkness. After the documentary, I'm going to read a few ones that you can kind of see the contrast between the gift itself didn't die, but it was used for something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, and that's the part of the I was watching when I was getting everything set up earlier today in the church. That was actually part of the documentary I was watching, was how you got into writing.
Yeah.
And how your mom, you know, said she liked your first poem, and then from there you just kept on going with it.
Yeah.
So, amen. All right. Tell me, how can people get a hold of Awaken Studios if they want to could reach out to you?
Yeah, best way is just to go to awakenstudios.net. That's our web address, and we have tons of information, even behind-the-scene photos of when we were capturing Jason's story, to a couple different trailer clips, to a lot of different things. But you can also contact me. You have some links down there at the bottom, so social links. You can reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I believe. And it's at Awaken Studios, OKC.
All right. And Jason, how can people get a hold of you through Sozo Life?
Yeah, Sozo Life is on Facebook, and that's SOZOLIFE. The little icon is a man on fire. The idea, of course, is our God is a consuming fire, and He makes His angels, and His ministers of fire. So, but yeah, Sozo Life on Facebook, and then also sozolife.org. You can find us on the web.
Awesome. So again, folks, come out 7 o'clock. We'll have the premiere of Relentless right here at Calvary Chapel in Norman. And that address, one more time, is 1401 West Boyd Street, Norman, Oklahoma. Then, like I said earlier, this is a free event, so no reason not to come out and enjoy a Friday night. So with that, I'm going to get back to the music. We got the band that headlined our block party this last Saturday.